You're being let go effective immediately. My name is Nathan Cole. I am 41 years old, and I had been with Hologate Systems for 14 years. 14 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, and building their automation platform from scratch. Words came from Trevor Walsh, our Chief Operating Officer, in a cramped conference room backstage at the Phoenix Convention Center. The annual company summit was happening in the main hall where 800 employees waited to hear about our record-breaking quarter. I sat there for a moment watching Trevor fidget with his tablet. The man could not look me in the eye. Behind him, I could hear the distant hum of conversation from the auditorium, the sound of my former colleagues settling into their seats, unaware that I was being erased from their company. This is part of a broader efficiency initiative. Trevor continued, reading from what looked like a prepared script. We appreciate your contributions, but we need to streamline operations moving forward. I thought about the automation tool I had been developing in my spare time, the one that could handle client onboarding in minutes instead of hours, the one that Trevor had dismissed as interesting but not scalable just 3 months ago, the one that could revolutionize how Hologate operated. I understand, I said, keeping my voice steady. Trevor looked surprised at my calm response. He probably expected anger, maybe threats about wrongful termination. Instead, I stood up, shook his hand, and walked toward the exit. As I reached the door, I heard applause erupting from the main auditorium. Someone was taking the stage. I should have left the building. Should have gone home to my apartment in Scottsdale and started updating my resume. Instead, I found myself slipping into the back of the auditorium, taking an empty seat in the last row. On stage, Chief Executive Officer Bradley Hawkins was adjusting the microphone, his practiced smile beaming across the crowd. Bradley was the kind of man who wore expensive suits, but never got his hands dirty. He had inherited the company from his father 5 years ago, and had been coasting on the work people like me had built. Today marks a new chapter for Hologate Systems, Bradley announced, his voice booming through the speakers. We are implementing an efficiency initiative that will save us millions while positioning us for unprecedented growth. The irony was not lost on me. They were announcing cost-cutting measures at the same time they were spending $200,000 on this summit. I pulled out my phone to check the time, and that was when I saw the message notification that was from Claudia Vega. Claudia Vega was not someone you ignored as the founder of Vidian Capital. She controlled 30% of Hologate Systems through various investment vehicles. She was the one who had pushed for our expansion into automated client management systems 2 years ago. The same systems I had spent countless nights perfecting. The message was simple. Got a minute? Let's take him down. I stared at the text, my mind racing. Claudia had always been different from the other investors. While they focused on quarterly reports and profit margins, she understood the technical side of our business. She had been the only board member to ask detailed questions about my automation projects during investor meetings. 3 months ago, I had presented my latest tool to the executive team. It was a comprehensive automation platform that could handle everything from client onboarding to project management. The system could reduce manual processing time by 80% and eliminate the need for 3 full-time positions. I had worked on it for over a year, staying late every night, testing and refining the algorithms. Bradley had barely looked up from his phone during my presentation. Trevor had asked a few questions about implementation costs, but I could tell his mind was elsewhere. At the end of the meeting, Bradley had said, "Interesting work, Nathan, but we need to focus on proven solutions right now." That was the first crack in my trust. I had built every major system Hologate used. Their client database, their project tracking tools, their billing automation, all of it came from my code. Yet, when I presented something that could transform the company, they treated it like a hobby project. The second crack came last month when I discovered that Trevor had been in talks with an external software company about implementing a client management system, a system that did exactly what mine did, but at 10 times the cost and half the efficiency. When I brought this to Bradley's attention, he assured me it was just preliminary research. The third crack was sitting here tonight watching them celebrate an efficiency initiative built on eliminating the people who actually understood how the company worked. I typed back to Claudia. "Where do you want to meet?" Her response came immediately. "Hilton lobby, 20 minutes. I looked back at the stage where Bradley was explaining how the company would emerge stronger and more competitive. The audience was eating it up, applauding at all the right moments. None of them knew that 14 of their colleagues had been terminated before the presentation began. None of them knew that the efficiency he was bragging about meant cutting the people who actually built the systems that made the company profitable. I stood up quietly and walked out of the auditorium. 20 minutes to the Hilton was plenty of time to change everything. The Hilton Phoenix was 3 blocks from the convention center, and I used the walk to process what had just happened. The evening air was still warm, typical for September in Arizona, and the downtown streets were busy with the usual mix of business travelers and conference attendees. I found Claudia in the lobby bar sitting at a corner table with her laptop open and a glass of wine untouched beside her. She was in her mid-50s with silver hair and the kind of sharp focus that came from building a $100 million investment firm from nothing. When she saw me approaching, she closed the laptop and gestured to the empty chair across from her. "They terminated you today," she said. It was not a question. 30 minutes ago, I confirmed, taking a seat. Right before Bradley's big efficiency announcement, Aunt Claudia shook her head slowly. "I warned them this was a mistake. You are the backbone of their technical operations. Apparently, backbones are not efficient enough anymore." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "Nathan, I need you to know something. I have been reviewing Hologate's books for the past 6 months, preparing for a potential expansion of my investment. What I found is troubling." I waited for her to continue. "The company is hemorrhaging money on redundant systems and inefficient processes. Their client retention rate has dropped 15% this year because their onboarding system is outdated. Their project management tools require constant manual intervention. Meanwhile, I know you have been developing solutions that could fix all of these problems." She was right. I had seen the same issues and had been working to address them through my automation platform. But Bradley and Trevor had consistently pushed back on implementation, claiming they needed to focus on short-term revenue goals. "Here is what really happened today," Claudia continued. "They did not fire you because of efficiency. They fired you because they are planning to sell the company and they want to eliminate anyone who might complicate the sale with intellectual property claims." The realization hit me like a physical blow. My automation tool, the one they had dismissed as not scalable, was exactly the kind of innovation that would make Hologate attractive to buyers. By terminating me before the sale, they could claim my work as company property without having to share the profits. "Who is the buyer?" I asked. "Dravenmark Technologists. They specialize in acquiring mid-sized tech companies and integrating their best assets into their existing platform. Your automation system would be worth tens of millions to them." I sat back in my chair, feeling a strange mix of anger and clarity. For the first time in months, everything made sense. The dismissive meetings, the rejection of my proposals, the sudden termination, it was all designed to clear the way for a profitable exit. "What did you mean when you said let's take him down?" Claudia smiled for the first time that evening. "I meant exactly that. Are you interested in starting your own company?" I thought about Bradley on that stage taking credit for savings built on my termination. "Yes," I said. "I am very interested." 3 days after the summit, I received a call from Jeffrey Morrison, Hologate's legal counsel. I was in my apartment working on a business plan that Claudia and I had sketched out over dinner the night before when my phone rang. "Nathan, we need to discuss your departure arrangements," Jeffrey said without preamble. "There are some intellectual property matters we need to clarify." I had been expecting this call. "What kind of matters?" "The automation platform you developed during your employment with Hologate. We need to ensure there are no conflicts if you pursue other opportunities." The way he said it made my stomach tighten. I had been careful to develop my most advanced algorithms on my own time using my personal equipment. But 14 years at a company creates a lot of gray areas when it comes to intellectual property. "I am happy to discuss this," I said. "Should I bring my attorney?" "That will not be necessary. This is just a friendly conversation to clarify a few points." The meeting was scheduled for the following morning at Hologate's offices. I arrived to find not just Jeffrey, but Trevor and 2 people I did not recognize sitting in the main conference room. Jeffrey introduced them as representatives from Dravenmark Technologies. "We understand you have been working on some interesting automation tools," said the older of the 2 Dravenmark representatives, a woman named Patricia Kellner. "We would like to discuss how those tools relate to your work at Hologate." I kept my expression neutral. Most of my development work was done on company time using company resources. Hologate owns that intellectual property. Most of it, Trevor agreed. "But we want to make sure we are all on the same page about recent projects." They knew about my independent development work. Somehow they had discovered that I had been building an enhanced version of the automation platform on my own time. The question was how much they knew and whether they could prove company resources were involved. Patricia slid a thick document across the table. "This is a comprehensive intellectual property assignment. It covers all automation-related work you completed during your tenure at Hologate, including any personal projects that might compete with company interests." I picked up the document and flipped through it. The language was broad, almost impossibly. So, by signing this, I would be giving up rights to any automation technology I had ever worked on, even ideas developed entirely on my own time. "This seems overly broad," I said. "It is standard for our industry," Jeffrey replied, "especially for senior technical staff who had access to proprietary systems and client data. What if I choose not to sign this?" Trevor leaned forward. "Then we would need to pursue other remedies to protect our intellectual property. That could include litigation to prevent you from using proprietary knowledge gained during your employment." The threat was clear. Sign away my rights to the technology I had developed or face a legal battle that could drag on for years and cost me everything I had saved. I looked around the table at their expectant faces. Patricia was taking notes on the legal pad. Trevor was checking his phone. Jeffrey was reviewing another document probably related to the Dravenmark acquisition. I need time to review this with my attorney, I said, standing up. Of course, Jeffrey said, but we would appreciate a quick turnaround. We have sometimes business matters that depend on clearing up these intellectual property questions. As I walked out of the building, I realized they had played this perfectly. By terminating me first, they had eliminated my access to company systems and my ability to document which innovations were truly mine. Now, they were using the threat of litigation to force me to sign away my rights to technology that could be worth millions. I called Claudia from my car. They want me to sign an intellectual property assignment that would prevent me from competing with them, I explained. Do not sign anything, she said immediately. Meet me at my office in an hour. We need to accelerate our timeline. Claudia's office in North Scottsdale was a glass-walled space overlooking the McDowell Mountains. When I arrived, she had 3 laptops open on her conference table and was on a call with someone she introduced as Marcus Webb, a corporate attorney who specialized in technology startups. Nathan, Marcus said over the speakerphone, Claudia has filled me in on your situation. Before we discuss your options, I need to understand exactly what intellectual property we are dealing with. I spent the next hour detailing my automation platform, the client onboarding system, the project management tools, the billing integration modules. Most importantly, I explained how I had been developing an enhanced version on my own time using algorithms and approaches that went far beyond anything Hologate currently used. The key question, Marcus said, is whether you can prove independent development. Do you have documentation showing when and how you created the advanced features? I have everything, I said. Git commits with timestamps, personal email records, receipts for software licenses I purchased myself. I was careful to keep my personal development separate from company work. Claudia looked up from her laptop. Nathan, I have been digging into the Dravenmark acquisition, and there are some things you need to know. She turned one of her screens toward me. It showed financial documents that I recognized as Hologate's quarterly reports, but with additional annotations and analysis. Asterisk. The sale price is $42 million, she said. But here is what's interesting. Dravenmark's valuation is based heavily on intellectual property assets, specifically automation technology that can reduce operational costs by 60% or more. I stared at the numbers. They are buying the company for technology I developed. Exactly. And Bradley knows it. Look at this. She pulled up another document, this one showing internal Hologate emails that she had obtained through her position on the board. The email chain was between Bradley and Trevor discussing the Dravenmark deal. One message from Bradley made my blood run cold. The call automation system is the centerpiece of their offer. We need to ensure clean IP ownership before closing. Another message from Trevor. Terminating him before the announcement eliminates most employment law complications. Legal says the IP assignment should cover any personal development claims. They planned this, I said quietly. They planned all of it. Claudia confirmed. The efficiency initiative, your termination, the IP assignment, everything was designed to clear the way for a sale that depends on your work. Marcus spoke up from the phone. This actually strengthens your position significantly. If you can prove that your enhanced platform was developed independently and that Hologate terminated you specifically to steal that IP, you have grounds for a serious lawsuit. But litigation could take years, I said. Which is why we are not going to litigate, Claudia said. We are going to compete. She pulled up a business plan on her third laptop. Vidian Capital is prepared to invest $2 million in a new company. You would be the chief technology officer with a 40% equity stake. We build your automation platform properly, market it to Hologate competitors, and let the market decide who has the better solution. I looked at the financial projections she had prepared. The numbers were aggressive but realistic. With proper funding and marketing, we could capture a significant share of the automation market within 18 months. What about the Dravenmark deal? If they are buying Hologate for automation technology and we have superior automation technology, then we make their $42 million acquisition worthless. I thought about Bradley's confident smile on stage, bragging about efficiency initiatives built on eliminating people like me, about Trevor's casual dismissal of my work as not scalable, about the IP assignments sitting on my kitchen table, waiting for a signature that would make me complicit in my own theft. When do we start? Within 2 weeks, Claudia had secured office space in Tempe and hired 3 additional developers that I recommended. We called the company Nexera Labs, and I threw myself into development with an intensity I had not felt in years. The beauty of starting fresh was that I could build the automation platform correctly from the ground up. At Hologate, I had been constrained by legacy systems and budget limitations. Now, with proper funding and no bureaucratic interference, I could implement the advanced algorithms I had been developing in my spare time. By the end of September, we had a functioning prototype that could handle client onboarding, project management, and billing integration more efficiently than anything on the market. I was working 16-hour days, but for the first time in months, I felt energized rather than exhausted. Meanwhile, Claudia was handling the business development side with the same ruthless efficiency she brought to her investment work. She had identified 12 companies that competed directly with Hologate's target market, and she was scheduling product demonstrations with their technical teams. The first breakthrough came in early October when we landed a pilot program with Ventures, a mid-sized consulting firm that had been frustrated with their current project management system. Our automation platform reduced their client onboarding time from 2 days to 6 hours, and their project managers were raving about the improved workflow efficiency. "This is exactly what we needed," said Jennifer Walsh, Ravenspark's operations director. "During our follow-up meeting, we have been looking for a solution like this for 2 years. Word spread quickly in the tight-knit Phoenix business community. By mid-October, we had signed contracts with 4 more companies, and our monthly recurring revenue was approaching $50,000. But the real validation came when I received an unexpected phone call from David Preston, a former colleague who still worked at Hologate. "Nathan, I probably should not be calling you," David said, "but I thought you should know what's happening here." I stepped outside the Nexera office and walked to my car for privacy. "What's going on? The Dravenmark deal is falling apart. Their Techna team came in last week to evaluate our automation systems and they were not impressed. Apparently, our client onboarding system crashed twice during the demonstration, and our project management tools are missing features they consider essential." I felt a surge of satisfaction. The systems Hologate was trying to sell were the old versions I had built years ago before I had developed the advanced algorithms that powered Nexera's platform. "Bradley is panicking," David continued. "He keeps asking Trevor if we can accelerate development of our automation tools. But Trevor keeps saying it would take at least 6 months to implement meaningful improvements." "What about the efficiency initiative?" "That's the other problem. They eliminated so many technical positions that we do not have the development capacity to enhance our systems quickly. The people who are left are spending all their time just maintaining what we have." After ending the call, I sat in my car for a few minutes, processing what I had learned. Hologate had fired me to clear the way for a sale based on technology I had developed. But in eliminating me and other technical staff, they had crippled their ability to maintain and improve that technology. Meanwhile, Nexera was proving that superior automation tools could capture market share rapidly when backed by proper funding and development expertise. I walked back into our office where Claudia was reviewing contracts with our new legal counsel. She looked up as I entered. "Good news?" she asked. "Very good news," I said. "I think it's time to accelerate our marketing timeline." She smiled. "I was hoping you would say that. The Phoenix Business Journal published the story on a Tuesday morning in December. Hologate Systems sale collapses as automation startup captures market share. I was in our Tempe office when Claudia called me over to her computer screen. The article detailed how Dravenmark Technologies had withdrawn their $42 million acquisition offer after determining that Hologate's automation technology was no longer competitive in the current market. The reporter had done thorough research. The article mentioned that several former Hologate clients had switched to Nexera Labs, citing superior performance and customer service. It quoted Jennifer Walsh from Ventures saying, "The difference in efficiency is remarkable. Nexera's platform does in hours what our old system took days to accomplish." But the most damaging quote came from an unnamed Dravenmark technical evator. "We expected to acquire cutting-edge automation technology. Instead, we found legacy systems that are already being outpaced by smaller, more agile competitors." My phone rang 20 minutes after the article went live. It was Trevor Walsh. "Nathan, we need to talk," he said, his voice tense. "I am listening. This competition between our companies is not healthy for anyone. We should discuss how we can coexist in the market without undermining each other." I almost laughed. 6 months ago, they had tried to force me to sign away my intellectual property rights. Now they wanted to negotiate a peaceful coexistence. "What did you have in mind?" I asked. "Maybe we could explore a partnership. You clearly have some innovative approaches that could benefit both companies." Through my office window, I could see Claudia on her phone, probably fielding calls from reporters or potential investors. We had just closed our series of funding round at a $12 million valuation and venture capital firms were circling with offers for our next round. "Trevor, I appreciate the call," I said, "but I think we are on different trajectories now." "Nathan, be reasonable. We are all adults here. Business is business." "You are absolutely right." I said, "Business is business. And your business model was to fire the people who built your technology, then try to sell that technology for $42 million. My business model is to build better technology with better people. The market has decided which approach works." There was a long pause. "This is not over," Trevor said finally. "Actually," I said, "I think it is." 6 months later, I was back at the Phoenix Convention Center, but this time as a keynote speaker at the Arizona Technology Summit. From the stage, I could see faces I recognized from my Hologate days, some former colleagues who had found new positions, some who had joined Nexera, and some who were still trying to rebuild their careers after the company's implosion. Hologate Systems had folded in March after losing 60% of their client base to competitors. Bradley Hawkins had been forced to resign by the board in February, and he was now facing a lawsuit from investors who claimed he had misrepresented the company's technical capabilities during acquisition negotiations. Trevor Walsh had taken a mid-level position at a startup in Austin, a significant step down from his previous role. The automation platform that they had tried to steal was now being used by 47 companies across 3 states. Nixera Labs had 32 employees and was processing over $2 million in annual recurring revenue. We had won the Phoenix Business Journal's Innovation Award and were being courted by 3 Fortune 500 companies for potential acquisitions. After my presentation, I walked through downtown Phoenix toward my car. The evening air was warm and the city lights reflected off the glass towers that housed dozens of technology companies, many of them now using Nixera's automation tools to improve their operations. I thought about that night at the Hilton when Claudia had asked if I was interested in starting my own company, about the IP assignment Trevor had tried to force me to sign, about Bradley's confident smile as he announced efficiency initiatives, built on eliminating the people who actually understood how technology worked. Building something worthwhile required more than just eliminating costs. It required understanding what was truly valuable and protecting it carefully.